Tax rate go. To former Reagan economics Svengali, Art Laffer. Art, when you were last here, you said you would be satisfied with a 15% corporate rate and nothing more. That would be more than enough to goose the economy. Everyone would be happy. Now we're hearing that it might be closer to 20% starting off, and we would get some marginal rates addressed as well, maybe for the upper income, maybe not. But what you're hearing thus far, what do you think?
Well, you know, I think the corporate tax rate's great. I want it 15% because then there's no ambiguity whatsoever, Neil, that we are the lowest tax nation in the OECD. I think they're 4 below than we would be. Ireland's the only one of any consequence, and we would become the tax shelter, the tax location. And that's what I'd really like to see. That would do a supercharged thing. If they cut it to 20%, would I leave the country and go to Canada? No, I'm staying here. What I would like to do is see them get it down as far as possible. That's really the kicker for economic growth.
It wouldn't be tax reform in quite the way that it was with the old boss Ronald Reagan. Now, we should hasten to add that the president actually started the tax cut while rolling in '81, and it was 5 years later that the reform came. But nevertheless, through that period, taxes did go down a lot. There's not as much wiggle room this go-around, say what could happen on the corporate front. Does that limit how much bang for the buck you could potentially get?
Yes, it does. I mean, what we did is we didn't care about pay-fors or any of that stuff in the '81 Tax Act, and we just cut tax rates across the board. That's what we did. The '86 Act, we had it revenue neutral, so we cut rates and we broadened the tax base, and that's what we did in the '86 Act. Both of them were excellent acts, but this one should be a tax rate reduction act without the pay-fors, because that's what we need to get the economy going. Then once we get a fully growing economy with full employment, then we go to tax reform.
All right. Now, I know you're, again, a fan of if all you get are corporate tax reductions, great. But as you know, they're trying to cook the marginal rate cuts as well. And we get different reads on that, Art, as you know. One saying that the upper income will be included, others say they won't. Others say if they are included, the offset will be a limit in their deduction, so it's a wash. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not a wash when you lower rates and eliminate deductions. That's a big plus. Even though it may be static revenue neutral, Neil, it's a real big plus. So I would love it if they lowered the rates and eliminated or even limited deductions. That would be great. I would love to see that done here. There was an article today in the Wall Street Journal about having a pay-for being a carbon tax, which would be a fantastic thing to do to bring the Democrats on board.
I saw that. I was shocked. So in order, you would welcome a carbon tax because of the revenue. I think they said $1 trillion over 10 years to pay for a tax cut. That's very Art Laffer.
No. In fact, they cited me in there.
I know. And I thought, well, I got to talk to this communist, and I know he's going to be on. Explain your position.
Well, because all taxes are bad, Neil, but some are worse than others. And the carbon tax is one of the least bad taxes.
And that would entice Democratic votes. That was your thinking, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know about global warming. I'm not an expert in that area, so
but you're happy to tax it.
No. What I am happy to do is do the least damaging taxes, which carbon, land taxes, some of the others are, and get rid of the most damaging taxes, which income taxes, especially high marginal rates, the corporate tax, the personal income tax. I do that trade every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And far from being the communist, that's the pro-growth capitalist model, Neil.
Yeah, there's only one thing worse than you talking about carbon taxes. If you weighed in on the NFL, I mean, that would have been a problem.
What is the NFL?
Yeah, the NFL and that the president.
I don't watch football.
Yeah,
I taught at the University of Chicago. They didn't even have football.
Sure. You were too busy, crunching numbers. All right, very good seeing you, my communist friend. I don't care what the others are saying. Art Laffer, that just blew me away. I'm reading the Wall Street Journal. What? All right, we have a lot more.